2 seconds, 3 seconds. All right. So obviously, no lives matter if all lives don't matter, right? Now, of course, that exempts people that exempt themselves from being worthwhile. But you can't say that all lives matter as an attack on Black Lives Matter, because you're saying Black lives don't matter because you're dismissing and discrediting their entire claim that they actually have a problem. They have a legitimate problem. Their grandparents inherited nothing. They were 1970s South Africa, racism. 1960s USA, racism. Their grandparents, their parents, even their parents have inherited absolutely nothing, not because they do drugs, but because they were subject to racism. And they need to be compensated. There needs to be reconciliation for that. But let's look around the world, over at Africa, and see how things are working over there. So obviously, we've discussed Elon Musk and how that guy's a complete prat. He's got ununionized African labor, hundreds of thousands of acres of lands in Africa, preventing the Africans from migrating and bottling them up, just like we bottle up the natives with private land, into these tiny little slums where those people have no access to food, and then they exploit the fact that those people need food, and then so they get it from the private farmers. And then the government says, oh, you know what? These people need to be on welfare, so we're going to take tax dollars in order to pay these farmers. And then so what we're going to do is all the taxes that the white people are paying from their mining and from their agriculture and from their utilities, which these people are dependent on, we're going to take those taxes. We're just going to give it back to the white people, because the white people are providing them with those utilities now, and they're providing them with the infrastructure, which they've jammed them into against their will, and they're providing them with their food. And then so the white people are in this reciprocal cycle of taking the money from the blacks and from the land and giving nothing back to the people of that land. But then they go over to the stock market and they ship all that money over to America by investing in American infrastructure. Because by investing in American slaves, and I'm not talking about black people, I'm talking about slaves. You are extorted and exploited to pay your taxes. You have to pay your taxes, so that's reliable revenue for the government. And then so they pay a big company that's building towers all their money, because the government is going to give that company back 100% of its money, because that's how philanthropy works. They don't build these towers in New York without getting paid by the government everything they need to make sure they don't have a loss when they build that tower. They got all different kinds of business expense cuts and make work projects and all that stuff. So they put all their money in that tower. So they've taken that money away from Africa, but they're still getting richer. So they've completely just raped Africa, and they send it over to America, where now the Americans are paying their taxes to build these skyscrapers, which they're mutually invested in building. So what we need to do, and a realistic perspective, is everyone don't go to work, get off your butts, and go and protest for Black reconciliation internationally. Take the money from the government so they can't give the money to the philanthropists to make stupid projects. Take that money away from them as a prospect and force the taxpayers to be conscripted and enslaved to paying reconciliation to the Black people. And that could and should very likely involve giving them a ton of land, but also overseas. Let the entire economy die. Grow your own food. Bury your crop. Make your own electricity. Use one kitchen instead of 30 kitchens to cook someone's food, so you guys can communicate and plot and take yourself away from stupid obligations so you can mutually work towards sustainable, feasible goals. And let's deal with the actual problems, because that's going to implicate government corruption significantly. But also just they're abused and exploited. Fucking A. No lives matter if Black lives don't matter. Get off your fucking asses. Be useful.